Hayes stood in the observation room of station, watching the stars drift past like dust in an endless void. His coffee was cold. He did not care. He had learned long ago that caring about small things was a waste of time. The pain from his past did not fade. It just became something he lived with like a scar. He had been a captain in the Earth Defense Force. He had commanded a military ship and sent men into battle. He had seen things that broke something inside him that could never be fixed. Now, at 53 years old, he ran a trading post on the edge of human space. The work was simple. People came to buy things. He sold to them. He made enough money to survive. That was enough. The station was quiet tonight. The mining crews were asleep. The cargo bays were locked, was alone with his cold coffee and his thoughts when the alarm sounded. It was a docking alarm. A ship was approaching. Checked the scanner. The vessel was not a human ship. It was small and sleek, built with curved metal and strange angles. The design belonged to a species called the had heard of them. Everyone had. They were beautiful beings, the most beautiful in the galaxy, according to every report he had read. But beauty was a weapon, he knew. Beauty made people want to look, to touch, to possess. Beauty made people kill. The ship did not dock. Instead, it came in hard and fast. Watched as the vessel hit the station at an angle. Metal screamed. Alarms blared. The impact shook the entire building, moved quickly. He was old, but his body still remembered how to react in a crisis. He ran to the hangar bay and checked the external cameras. The ship had crashed into the asteroid field near the station. It was burning. The hull was damaged. Could see the breach in the side, see the heat pouring out into the cold black space. Nobody could survive that. The ship was dead. But had learned not to assume anything. He suited up. He took a rescue pod and pushed out from the station. The ship floated in the darkness, turning slowly. It was worse than he had thought. The engine was destroyed. The life support system was failing. Nobody could survive that. Entered through a side hatch. The interior was cold and dark. The gravity generators were offline. He pushed himself through the corridors using the handholds built into the walls. The walls were warm under his gloved hands. The fire was spreading. He found her in the main cabin. She was lying on the floor, or what used to be the floor. The gravity had changed, and she was stuck against the wall by the pressure of the air current. Could see why everyone said they were beautiful. Her skin was pale silver. Her hair was long and dark, like water at night. Her face was perfect, almost too perfect, like a painting rather than a real person. Her eyes were closed. Checked her pulse. She was alive. Her heart was beating. He did not know if blood was different from human blood. He did not know if they would die the same way, but she was alive, and that was enough. He pulled her away from the wall. She was light in the zero gravity. He wrapped her in the emergency blanket from his suit and pushed himself back through the corridor. Behind them, the fire spread. The metal creaked and groaned. The ship was breaking apart. Made it back to the rescue pod with 30 seconds to spare. He pulled the hatch shut as the ship came apart behind him. Pieces of metal floated past, spinning slowly. He did not watch. He focused on the controls. He brought the pod back to the station. In the medical bay laid the woman on the table. He removed his suit carefully. His hands were shaking. It had been a long time since he had felt fear like this. In the war, fear was a thing you pushed down. You did what needed to be done. You did not think about it. You survived, and then you went back out and did it again. He scanned her body. Her biology was different from humans. Her blood was blue. Her bones were more delicate. Her organs were in different places, but she was breathing. Her heart was beating. She was alive. Her eyes opened. Stepped back, he was not sure what to expect. The woman looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were violet, the color of deep space. There was fear in those eyes. There was also something else. Recognition, maybe, or gratitude. When she spoke, her voice was soft, like music, like someone singing a song in a language nobody had ever heard before. Did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. He understood that she was afraid. He raised his hand slowly, showing her that he was not a threat. He spoke in a low, calm voice. He told her his name. He told her she was safe. He told her the ship had crashed and he had pulled her out. He did not know if she understood. Her eyes moved across his face, studying him. After a moment, she stopped struggling. She did not relax, but she stopped struggling. That was enough. Left her in the medical bay. He locked the door from the outside. He needed to think. He needed to understand what had just happened. The ship had crashed. The woman was alive and she was in his station. He could report this to Earth Command. He could let the authorities take her. They would know what to do. They would follow the proper channels. Or he could hide her. made his choice before he really understood that he was making it. He went to the cargo hold and found old blankets and a second medical scanner. He prepared the lower levels of the station, the places that nobody went, the places where a person could live without being seen, brought food to the lower levels 3 times a day. The woman who told him her name was Lyra ate very little. She drank water from the containers he left. She did not speak much. Her words were scattered and broken, like someone trying to remember a language they had almost forgotten. Did not know if she was injured in her mind or if she was just too afraid to talk. 3 days passed. On the 4th day, Emma found him. Emma was assistant at the trading post. She was 28 years old and smart, had hired her 2 years ago because she knew computers and she did not ask questions. She was good at her job. She was also good at finding things that people did not want to be found. She appeared in the lower levels without warning, was bringing Lyra fresh water when he saw Emma standing in the corridor. She was holding a scanner. She had the look of someone who already knew the truth. Did not try to lie, there was no point. Emma had seen Lyra, Emma knew. Expected Emma to report him. He expected her to call Earth Command and tell them that he was harboring an alien. He expected his life to end. Instead, Emma stepped into the room where Lyra was sitting. Lyra moved back. She was afraid of Emma, could see it in the way her body tensed. She did not know if this new human was a threat. Emma raised her hands like had done in the medical bay. She spoke in a soft voice. She asked Lyra if she was hurt. She asked Lyra if she needed medicine. She asked Lyra if she was hungry. Did not know what to say. He watched as Emma sat down across from Lyra, slowly and carefully, like she was trying not to frighten a wild animal. Lyra did not move. Emma began to talk about her own life. She talked about growing up on Mars. She talked about her family. She talked about nothing important, just words, just the sound of a kind voice in a room that had been silent for too long. After an hour, Lyra spoke. Her voice was quiet, but she spoke. She told Emma her story. There were a species that had existed for millions of years. They had never been warriors. They had been scientists and artists and builders. They had made beautiful things. They had discovered the secrets of the stars. They had lived in peace for so long that they had almost forgotten what war was. Then the came. The Dominion was a military empire. They conquered other species. They took what they wanted. They destroyed what they did not want. They considered themselves the perfect beings. They had no time for beauty or art or science that was not useful for war. They looked at thee and saw weakness. They saw prey. Lyra had been studying ancient technology. The ancients, the ones who had come before thee and had left behind machines and knowledge. Lyra had found something. She had found plans for a device that could stop She had found instructions for building something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. They wanted those plans. They had come to Lyra's world. They had killed her family. They had killed her people. They were hunting her because she was the only one who understood the ancient technology. They wanted to capture her and take what was in her mind. Lyra had run. She had stolen a ship and she had run, but the had followed. The crash had happened because the had fired on her. She had run into human space hoping that they would not follow her here. She had hoped that humans might help her. She had not known if humans would help her or kill her or hand her over to the. Emma listened to the entire story without interrupting. When Lyra finished, Emma did not ask questions. Emma did not doubt. Emma simply said that she would help. She said that would help. She said that they would not let the take Lyra. Wanted to argue. He wanted to tell Emma that she did not understand what she was offering. He wanted to tell her that helping Lyra would make her a fugitive too. But Emma looked at him, and he could see in her eyes that she had already made her choice. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma worked in secret. They repaired Lyra's ship bit by bit, bringing parts from the scrap yard and the storage areas where old equipment was kept. Lyra told them what needed to be fixed. She had knowledge that was useful. She knew the systems of her ship. She knew how machines worked. But she also knew how to talk to people. As she worked with Emma, she began to teach them about her world. She told them about the cities she had lived in. She told them about music and art and science that was done for beauty rather than war. She told them stories about her family. She told them about her mother, who had been a mathematician. She told them about her father, who had loved to build things. Realized that Lyra was not just beautiful. She was intelligent. She was kind. She was brave. She had lost everything and everyone she loved, and she had not given up. She was trying to save the rest of her people. That took more courage than anything had ever done. Emma saw it too. She and Lyra became friends. They talked for hours while they worked. Emma told Lyra about being a woman in the military colonies. She told her about the prejudice she had faced. She told her that she understood what it was like to be hunted because of what you were. On the 15th day, a patrol ship came to station. The commander was standing in the main office when the officer entered. The creature was tall and covered in gray armor. Its eyes were cold and dead, like something that had never felt emotion. The officer said that I had crashed near this station. The officer said that there was a criminal and a fugitive. The officer said that would give them information about where there was or he would regret it. Said nothing. He said that no had come to his station. He said that his scanners had detected the crash, but by the time he sent a rescue team, there was nothing left. The officer did not believe him, but the officer had no proof. The officer threatened and left the station. When the ship was gone, Emma went to the lower levels. Lyra was sitting in the darkness. She knew that they had come. She knew that they were close. She knew that staying at station would bring danger to Emma. She told them that she had to leave. She told them that she could not put them in danger. But Emma had already decided. They told Lyra that they would go with her. They told Lyra that there were more humans in the galaxy who believed in helping the weak, in fighting for the ones that others abandoned. Received the message from Earth Command at 600 hours. The message was official and cold. It said that he was to turn over any refugees to the authorities immediately. It said that harboring aliens was against Earth law. It said that if he did not comply, he would lose his license and face prosecution. Deleted the message. He did not reply. He knew what this meant. He knew that Earth Command had gotten pressure from the Earth needed trade with the Earth needed resources that the controlled. Earth did not need one old man and one refugee. Earth would sacrifice Lyra without hesitation. He told Emma and Lyra that they had to leave now. Not in a few days, not after they finished repairs. Now, the station was no longer safe. Lyra's ship was only half repaired. The engine was still damaged. The navigation system was weak, but it could fly. That was enough. And Emma packed everything they could carry. They took food and water. They took medical supplies. They took weapons, though did not expect the weapons would help them against a warship. They loaded everything into Lyra's vessel. The ship was small and cramped. It was built for a single pilot, not 3 people. Emma had to squeeze between the 2 pilot seats. Lyra took the controls. Her hands moved across the systems with precision. Despite her fear, she was calm. She was a pilot. She knew how to do this. Stood behind them and watched. He thought about his life. He thought about the choices that had led him to this moment. He thought about the war and the people he had killed and the people who had died under his command. He thought about how he had spent 15 years trying to escape from action and violence. Now, at the age of 53, he was running from the largest military force in known space. It felt like coming home. Lyra pushed the ship away from station. The engines burned. The small vessel accelerated into the black. Behind them, the station was already fading into the distance. Ahead of them was nothing but void and stars. They had been flying for 6 hours when the first ship appeared on the scanner. It was a destroyer, a massive warship built for combat. It was 3 times the size of Lyra's ship. It had weapons that could tear through armor like paper. It was the kind of ship that made smaller vessels try to run. Did not hesitate. He told Lyra to change course. He told her to head toward the asteroid field around 5, a system with dense rocks and strange gravitational fields. A small ship could navigate it. A large ship could not. Lyra adjusted the controls. The ship accelerated. Behind them, the destroyer followed. The asteroid field was ahead of them. Could see it on the scanner, a dense cloud of rocks ranging from the size of houses to the size of mountains. Lyra flew toward it at full speed. Emma held onto the seat and did not cry out, though her knuckles were white. They entered the field. The ship weaved between asteroids, moving so fast that could see the rocks pass on either side of them. Lyra was a good pilot. Her hands were steady. She did not panic. The destroyer followed them in. It was larger and slower. It could not move between the asteroids with the same precision. Watched on the scanner as the ship collided with a large rock. The destroyer stopped. It was damaged. But it was not destroyed, and it was not alone. 2 more ships appeared on the scanner, then 3 more. They came from different directions, moving to cut off Lyra's escape route. Realized what was happening. This was not just a pursuit. This was a trap. They had known the direction Lyra would run. They had positioned their ships to box her in. Told Lyra to fly deeper into the field. He started to calculate trajectories. He looked at the gravitational fields and the asteroid movements. He saw a path, a narrow way through that the ships could not follow. He told Lyra where to go. She followed his instructions without question. The ship moved through the asteroid field like a dancer, turning and spinning and accelerating at just the right moments. The ships tried to follow. One of them collided with an asteroid and was destroyed. The others continued to pursue, but they were falling behind. Then saw the fifth ship. This one was different. It was smaller and faster. It was built for pursuit, and it was piloted by someone who knew what they were doing. The pursuing ship fired. The shot missed Lyra's vessel by meters. Lyra screamed, but she did not slow down. She did not panic. She kept flying, following directions. Realized that the pilot was expecting them to run for deep space. The pilot was herding them toward the outer regions of the system where there were no more asteroids, where Lyra's ship would be visible and vulnerable. Told Lyra to reverse course. Emma and Lyra both looked at him like he was insane. Lyra said that revering course meant going back toward the fleet that had originally chased them. Said yes, that was the point. Lyra turned the ship around. She flew straight back at the pursuing vessel. The two ships raced toward each other. The pilot had not expected this. The fired again, but the shot was not as accurate this time. Lyra flew lower, using the asteroids as cover. At the last moment, Lyra pulled up. The ship rose over the asteroid field, and the pursuing vessel could not follow fast enough. It was forced to slow down to avoid collision with the rocks. Lyra was through the field. She was in open space. Behind her, the ships were still pursuing, but they were far away now. They were minutes behind, and Lyra's damaged engines could push for one desperate burst of speed. Emma laughed, not from happiness, but from relief and terror mixed together. Lyra said nothing. She was focused on the controls on the path ahead, but could see her shoulders relax just slightly. The ships would catch up eventually. The pursuit would continue, but for now they had escaped. For now they were alive. Went to the back of the ship and looked out the viewport. He watched the stars behind them, watched the ships growing smaller in the distance. He thought about what he had given up. He thought about his trading post and his quiet life and the peace he had been searching for. He realized that peace had never been something he could find in the dark and the cold. Peace was only something that could exist among people. And now, with Emma and Lyra and the on their tail, had found something that felt more like peace than anything he had felt in 15 years. He had found purpose again. He had found people to protect. He had found a reason to keep fighting. The ship was dying. That was the simple truth of it. The damage from the crash and the pursuit was too much. The engine was overheating. The power systems were failing. The life support was cycling through emergency protocols every few minutes. If they did not fix it soon, they would suffocate in the black. Stood in the engine room and assessed the damage. The room was hot and filled with toxic fumes. The wiring was burned. The coolant system was broken. Half the components were no longer functional. Emma came down and stood beside him. She had been a mechanic before she became a trader's assistant. She looked at the engine and she swore, did not blame her. The repairs they had done back at station had been slow and careful. They had used proper parts and proper procedures. There was no time for that now. They needed results. They needed the engine to work again in a way that was safe enough to fly, even if it was not safe in any other way. Lyra appeared at the door to the engine room. She had left the ship on autopilot. She descended into the heat and the fumes and studied the damage with the eye of someone who understood the systems. She told them what needed to be done. She told them that the coolant system had to be rebuilt from spare parts. She told them that the wiring had to be rerouted using the backup systems. She told them that it was possible, but barely. And Emma worked through the night. They used tools that were designed for one purpose to accomplish completely different purposes. They rerouted power through unused circuits. They built a new coolant system using tubes and pumps from the food preparation area. They used components from the communication systems to fix the damaged wiring. It should not have worked. It was a horrible solution to a complex problem. It was dangerous and inefficient and would probably destroy the engine in a matter of hours. But it worked. The engine fired. Power returned to the systems. Life support began to cycle normally instead of desperately, and Emma did not celebrate. They simply moved on to the next problem. The ship needed to reach a neutral station called Crossroads. Crossroads was independent. It was not controlled by Earth or any other government. If they could reach it, they could rest. They could make repairs properly. They could plan what came next. But the ships were still following. The pursuit had not stopped. Lyra checked the scanners and her face showed the truth. They were relentless. They were closing the distance. Went to the communication system. He had an idea. It was a dangerous idea and it would probably not work, but he did not have many options left. He began to send false transmissions. He told the fleet that he was a merchant vessel carrying cargo for Earth Command. He told them that Lyra had died in the crash. He told them that there was no point in pursuing further. They did not believe him, but the transmissions created confusion. The ship slowed. They checked their scanners, the information with their command center. The delay was small, but it was enough. Lyra pushed the damaged engines to maximum speed. The ship accelerated toward Crossroads at a velocity that made the entire structure groan and shudder. They were going to make it, could see it on the scanners. Crossroads was less than an hour away at this speed. The ships were falling behind. They were slowing down because the pursuit was taking them toward neutral space where they had no authority. But something was wrong. Looked at the scanner again and he saw more ships appearing. These were not pursuit vessels. These were military ships forming a blockade. They had decided to stop playing. They were going to do this with brute force. Realized that the commander must be very important. They must want Lyra badly. They were willing to violate the neutrality of Crossroads. They were willing to start a conflict with the independent powers that controlled the station. They were willing to do that because whatever Lyra knew, it was worth the risk. Told Lyra to keep flying. He told Emma to prepare the weapons. The weapons on Lyra's ship were weak. They would not defeat a military vessel, but they could at least show resistance. They could at least make a fight of it. Emma armed the weapons while prepared a message for the station commander. He recorded the message carefully. He explained who Lyra was. He explained that they were pursuing her. He explained that if they attacked at Crossroads, it would be an act of war against the independent station. The message was gamble. He was betting that the station commander would care about protecting her authority more than she would care about the demands. Lyra's ship pushed forward at maximum speed. The blockade appeared on the visual scanner, 3 massive warships arranged in a line. Sent the message to Crossroads. There was silence. No response came. The ships did not fire. They simply waited. Realized that they were waiting to see if was bluffing. They were waiting to see if the station commander would actually respond. Then the docking lights of Crossroads came to life. A human voice came through the communication system. The station commander told to proceed to the docking bay. The commander told that any attack on Crossroads would result in the activation of the station's defensive systems, which were considerable. The ships did not move, but they did not fire. The commander's bluff had worked, or it was not a bluff. Either way, Lyra's ship was allowed to dock. As the ship came to rest in the docking bay, realized something. Humans were weak. Humans had fragile bodies and short lives and no natural weapons. Humans could not outrun the through space. Humans could not defeat the in direct combat. But humans could think. Humans could adapt. Humans could use what they had to create new things. Humans could look at broken equipment and broken situations and find solutions that should not exist. That was the thing they did not understand. That was the thing that made humans dangerous. Emma was exhausted. Lyra was exhausted, but they were alive. Lyra looked at them both and spoke words that she had learned from Emma. She said thank you, not in the poetic way they spoke, but in simple human words that meant something clear and straightforward. Emma put her arm around Lyra. She told her that they were not done yet. She told her that they had only just the journey through space took 3 weeks. Lyra navigated using coordinates that had been hidden in her mind since childhood. The coordinates pointed to a system that should not exist. According to all of the charts and maps and databases, there was nothing in that region of space. There were only asteroids and gas clouds and empty void. But Lyra flew toward it anyway. During those 3 weeks, learned things about that he had never known before. He learned that they had been a spacefaring civilization for millions of years. He learned that they had not conquered or dominated other species. They had explored. They had built. They had created. They had lived in peace with themselves for so long that they had almost forgotten what violence was. Then they came. They had attacked without warning or provocation. They had tried to negotiate. They had tried to offer trade and cooperation. The had answered with weapons and death. In less than a year, the civilization had been nearly destroyed. The survivors had done what they always did. They had run, they had hidden, they had preserved what they could. Lyra's grandmother had been the last great scientist of the. She had discovered something in the ruins of the ancient civilization that had existed millions of years before they ever traveled the stars. She had discovered blueprints for a machine that could disrupt military technology. The device was not a weapon. It was something that would make weapons useless. The grandmother had hidden the plans in a secure location. She had made sure that only one person would be able to find it and understand it. That person was Lyra. Lyra was not a warrior. She was not a scientist like her grandmother. She was an artist, a scholar, a teacher. But she had inherited her grandmother's mind and her grandmother's memories. She had inherited the knowledge of where the sanctuary was hidden. On day 21, the hidden system appeared on the scanner. It was beautiful in a way that had never seen before. There were 3 suns orbiting each other in a complex dance. There were planets with rings of crystal that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. There were habitation stations built into asteroids, designed to look like parts of the natural landscape. Lyra approached the largest planet. She sent a signal, a pattern of coded transmissions that she had been taught as a child. The planet did not respond, thought that the signal was a failure. He thought that whatever civilization had created this sanctuary had long since died. Then a voice came through the communication system. It was a voice, male and deep, speaking in their musical language. Lyra responded, could not understand the words, but he could hear the emotion in her voice. Relief, recognition, joy. The ship was guided to a landing platform. As they descended through the atmosphere, saw the world beneath them. It was an Eden, a garden world that had been carefully preserved and maintained. The vegetation was alien but beautiful. The cities were built in harmony with the natural landscape. They had taken their knowledge and used it to create something that was more than survival. They had created a world that was worth surviving for. They landed on the platform. The moment the door opened, felt it. He felt the weight of something that had been missing from his life since he had left Earth. He felt gravity that was familiar. He felt air that was clean. He felt the presence of a world that had been lived on, built on, cared for. Lyra stepped out of the ship first. They were waiting. They were beautiful, all of them, but they were also different from each other. Some were older. Some were younger. Some had skin that was different shades of silver and blue. Realized that they were not all from the same family line. They were survivors from many different parts of the civilization. They rushed to Lyra and embraced her. They sang, not with words, but with a sound that came from deep within their chests. It was a song of grief and joy mixed together. It was a song of loss and reunion and hope. An old stepped forward. She moved slowly, her body aging, her movements careful, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She looked at and then at Emma. Lyra spoke. She told the old about and Emma. She told her about the crash and the rescue. She told her about the pursuit. She told her about the choices that and Emma had made. The old approached. She was small, barely reaching to his chest. She placed her hand on his chest, over his heart. She spoke in accented but clear human English. She said that her name was. She said that she had been alive for 347 years. She said that in all of her years, she had never seen a human risk everything for a stranger. She said that they had studied humans for a long time. They had thought that humans were too brutal, too primitive, too focused on war and violence. They had been wrong. Showed them the sanctuary. She showed them the libraries where knowledge was preserved. She showed them the laboratories where scientists worked on peaceful projects. She showed them the gardens where children learned to grow food and appreciate beauty. She showed them a civilization that had survived by hiding and by preserving what mattered most. Then she showed them something else. She showed them the plans that Lyra's grandmother had discovered. The plans for a device that could disrupt weapons. The plans for something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Told them that they had always assumed they could not build the device. They were not warriors. They did not have the resources of a military civilization. They did not have soldiers or weapons factories or the knowledge of how to wage war. But now they had an Emma, now they had humans. Said that humans had already proven something that they had forgotten. Humans could adapt. Humans could improvise. Humans could take broken things and make them work. Humans could look at a problem and find a solution that did not exist before. She said that together, humans and could build the device. Together they could change things. Together they could stand against the... Felt something break open inside him. He thought about the war. He thought about the people he had killed. He thought about the pain and the loss and the nightmares that he had carried for 15 years. But he also thought about Emma. He thought about how a young woman had chosen compassion over safety. He thought about Lyra and how a single person could inspire courage in others. He thought about the future. He thought about a galaxy where the did not dominate. He thought about a galaxy where the weak could survive and the beautiful could be safe. Extended his hand, too. He said that he would help. He said that he would do whatever was necessary. Emma was already stepping forward. She had tears on her face, but she was smiling. She said that she was ready. She said that she had spent her whole life trying to find a place where she belonged. She said that she had found it. That night, the three of them stood on a balcony overlooking the sanctuary. They looked at the stars above. They looked at the multiple suns and the crystal rings and the beauty of the hidden world. Lyra spoke without the broken English that had defined her at the beginning. She had learned quickly. She had learned from Emma and she had learned how to express herself in the human way. She said that when she had crashed on station, she thought that her life was over. She thought that she would die alone and afraid in the dark. She thought that the would win and her people would be forgotten. But then had found her, and Emma had chosen to help, and everything had changed. She said that humans were not weak. Humans were strong in ways that they had never understood. Humans had courage that came from inside, not from armor or weapons or technology. Humans had loyalty that could not be broken. Humans had compassion that extended to strangers and aliens and the hopeless. Lyra reached out and took hand. She took Emma's hand. She held them both, one human hand in each of her hands. She said that she had been a hopeless alien refugee. She said that now she had sanctuary. She said that now she had family. Felt the warmth of her hand. He felt the weight of Emma's arm on his shoulder. He felt the stars above and the world beneath and the infinite possibilities of the future. For 15 years, he had run from his past. He had tried to hide in the darkness and the cold. Now, standing with a beautiful alien woman and a brave human companion, looking out at a hidden sanctuary and a galaxy full of hope, finally understood what peace was. Peace was not the absence of struggle. Peace was having people worth struggling for. Peace was knowing that you were not alone. Peace was standing with others and being willing to fight for what mattered. Behind them, the city glowed with warm light. Below them, the sanctuary world continued its ancient rotation. Above them, the stars burned with the fire of 1 billion suns. And in the days and months that would come, and Emma and Lyra would begin the work of changing everything. They would build the device. They would gather allies. They would teach the galaxy that beauty and weakness and hope could be more powerful than weapons and armor and fear. But that is another story. For now, they simply stood together and watched the stars. And in that moment, standing with the people they had chosen to stand with, they were home. And she told her that no fleet in the galaxy was going to stop them from reaching safety. Behind them, the fleet changed course. The hunt continued, but was no longer afraid. He was exactly where he was meant to be. Lyra looked at them both and she cried. Not because she was weak, but because she had found something she thought was lost forever. She had found hope. He did not ask himself why. He already knew the answer. It was not a good reason. It was not a smart reason. It was just the reason that his heart gave him, the reason that came from a place deeper than logic, deeper than fear. He had spent too many years following orders. He had spent too many years doing what he was told to do. Maybe it was time to do something different. Maybe it was time to do something that mattered. When the woman woke again, would tell her that she was safe. He would tell her that he would help her. He did not know how he would do it. He did not know if he could do it. He only knew that he was going to try. Outside, the stars continued their slow drift through the black void. In a galaxy full of war and pain and fear, one man made a choice. It was a small choice. It was a choice that would change everything.